Right, I'm extremely pupil at the partly trained stage.
Right, sir.
Yeah, you're filling in for more regular instructor who can't make it today.
Yeah.
But he has got a car very similar to yours, so I am reasonably familiar with the controls.
Yeah.
He said today he was going to look at, or show me how to deal with pedestrian crossings,
Yes.
and he was going to have a look at my use of signals by indicator and arm.
Right, sir. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So partly trained, teach me how to deal with pedestrian crossings, and look at my use of signals by indicator and by arm.
Yes.
Over this phase you can probably tell me, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, Tony. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
My name's Andy. Sorry.
Hello, Andy.
Unfortunately, your usual instructor, he can't make it today, and he asked me to fill in. But he asked, told me last night, he asked if we could go through pedestrian crossings and look at use of signals, and also look at the indicator by signal and by arm, and show the arm signals. So, before we set up, so what I'll do is just give a short briefing, and so first type of crossing we're going to. Do you know the two different types of crossings we can get, Tony? Have you done anything in your theory yet? Have you done much of your theory? You haven't covered that much?
No.
So the first type of crossing we get is an uncontrolled crossing, and the first thing the way we identify that is these yellow flashing beacons, the black and white posts, the white zigzag lines on approach and exit, the black and white markings of the crossing itself, and these white broken giveaway lines. So just looking at the white zigzags, do you know, you don't know the rules, do you know anything about what you can't do on those? So basically the way it works is we mustn't park on them because we obstruct the view of pedestrians who want to cross, and also so basically we're obstructing the view for pedestrians of any approaching vehicles that we park, and we mustn't overtake on them because again we won't have a clear it's against the law on both occasions, and we wouldn't have a clear view of the crossing. That's why it would be dangerous. Now when we get to it, it's important that we also must never park on or stop, I should say. We should never park or stop on the crossing itself. So if we're in a queue of traffic, we must wait until we've got it clear enough for us to get clear of the crossing before we move on.
Is that important?
Yeah. Now the reason why we shouldn't do that, other than the aspects of the law, and it's against the law, it's illegal, is because if anybody wanting to use the crossing would have to go into the road, so they could be hit by a vehicle, or a blind person could walk into the vehicle and injure themselves. Now we have this one, which is a single crossing, but we can also get a crossing which is got an island in the middle, and this is we treat as two separate crossings. So if we've got a pedestrian on the curb here, we can keep going. If they get to this island, then we must stop and wait for them to cross. Now also the way we're going to approach these the way we're going to approach these crossings, Tony, the first thing we're going to do is going to check our mirror, check the interior mirror to see how close anything is behind us. Then we won't accelerate, so just maintain our speed. If we do see a pedestrian who might be going to cross, then we'll see what they're going to do first. So we'll try and make eye contact. If they look as if they're going to cross, then we'll start preparing to stop by covering the brake. And if we expect them to cross, we'll reduce the speed and stop. Now, you will find that pedestrians can cross anywhere. So if we see a pedestrians on the pavement and look as if they're going to cross, we'll treat them in much the same way as we would for a pedestrian uncontrolled crossing. Try and make eye contact. Again, we'll carry on. We'll make eye contact. If they look as if they're going to cross, we'll treat it in the same way. Another aspect of we must never wave pedestrians across. Reason being that we're taking responsibility to them, and there could be a vehicle either they or we haven't seen. So if we turn to controlled crossings, now identify these by a set of traffic lights, much like they have for ordinary traffic lights at a junction. We also see these yellow boxes on the posts. Go into that detail in a minute. And again, we'll have the white zigzags, and the same rules apply overtaking and parking. Again, now with these ones, when we have an island in the centre like this, it is still one crossing. So the lights, so it's treated as one crossing. If it's got a staggered crossing with the island in the middle, then we treat that as two separate crossings. There are two types. Now, the two main types that we like to come across of control crossings are one's called a pelican or puffin. So with one of them, it has a flashing amber light which follows the red. If the crossing's clear, there's nobody on the crossing, on a flashing amber we can keep going. Otherwise, if there's any pedestrians on it, we would stop. And the other type, which is the puffin crossing, is like a normal set. We treat it as a normal set of traffic lights. Again, on approach, we same procedure on approach. We got the toucan and Pegasus, but we'll go into more detail later, another lesson. Then turning to signals. So Tony, if you imagine this is us and this is us in the yellow car, and you were going to take this turning on the right, where would you signal? Where would you put your signal on?
About here.
About there. And you'd put your signal on about here. Yeah. And why would you choose to do it there?
Don't confuse people.
Yeah, that's it. And if you were going, if you were going to pull out around this red car here, would you signal to go around that red car? Would you put a right-hand signal on?
No, I might confuse people.
Yeah.
I think I'm turning in here.
So how could you let them know what you were going to be doing, that you were going to be going on?
Fred says my position and speed.
Excellent. So we're going to look at the arm signals, and so when we do these arm signals, the reason we can use an arm signal is to reinforce our indicators. So you might want to use a left or right one. Say you had a driveway just before a junction, and you wanted to emphasise that you were going to the driveway and not turning right or left of the road. So to do arm signals, what we do is we both hands on the wheel. We then going to do our we go for the normal procedure for turning right. So what we do, Tony? Yeah, if you could wind that window all the way down to the base with the it's electric turn. Sorry, all the way down to his turn. It's important we have that so that we can get on all the way. And so the procedure we're going to follow, Tony, is you do normal procedure, which is your mirrors, and then your indicator, and then the first thing you'll do is you'll keep your both hands on the wheel. So if you just have both hands in normal driving position, and then you're going to look in that right door mirror there. It's important we look in that mirror so when you put your arm out, don't get it chopped off or hit by anybody. Then you keep your left hand on the wheel, and then I'd like you to put your right arm. We're going to do one for a right to show that we're going to be turning right.
Oh.
So the right arm out, straight, and palm facing forward, Tony, thumb above, palm facing forward, and you'd hold that out for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then before you make the turn, arm back in and on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And we'll do one for a left-hand turn. So again, both hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
So keeping your left hand on the wheel, check that door mirror, and that's it. Why are we checking that, Tony?
So I get my hand chopped off.
That's it. And then right arm straight out. This time palm facing downwards. Facing downwards, and then from the shoulder, lift and lower, raise your arm from the shoulder.
What am I signalling for?
And this is for a left-hand turn.
Left hand turn.
And then move your arm up and down, lift your arm up and down, so from the shoulder all the way, as if you're patting a great big dog. So, like this picture here. So as if you're patting a big dog.
Oh, is that turning left?
No, it's not. So, sorry. I'll say this one again. So this time we're doing the one for the turning left. So it's the same again, palm facing forward. Sorry, thumb above, and then what I want you to do is circle your arm about the. So the way it's the other way, Tony. So if you imagine the way these car wheels are moving, if you're going straight ahead, and circle in the same way, and then count to 3, and then back on the wheel, hand back on the wheel before before we make the turn, and then the last one is the one for slowing down and stopping. So both hands on the wheel, and then keep the left hand on the wheel, check that right door mirror, and then right arm straight out, and then this time palm facing down, and then from the shoulder up and down as if you're patting a big dog. So it's from the shoulder, the whole arm. That's it, and then back on the wheel before we make the turn. That's it. So, so what we're going to do, Tony, is when you're ready, would you like to set yourself up?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, Tony, so what can you see in that centre mirror, please?
Square that up back window, see a bit of my head restraint,
Yes.
small bit of yours.
And what can you see? That sounds good. And what can you see in your right door mirror?
So the 2 door handles of the car,
Yes.
the road and the sky,
And the left door mirror.
same.
Okay, Tony, so when you're ready, we'll drive on. Very good. Why did you choose to put an indicator on there, Tony?
Learn the setting in that car.
Excellent, well done.
And turning right.
And turn right, please, Tony. That's good mirrors on the new road, Tony.
Where am I going to turn left?
Now we're going to turn left, please, Tony. Indicator back on, Tony, please.
It is on.
Do you know how you can tell if the indicator's gone off, Tony? So just put the indicator down. It's gone off, Tony. So you can tell by the. Why is it important that we keep that indicator on if it's cancelled?
Everybody knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what I was on.
So the way you can tell if it's gone off, Tony, is you get a flashing green arrow that will tell you that it's on, and if you can't, also you'll be able to hear that clicking sound. Yeah. So I don't need to indicate, Tony. And the reason we don't need to indicate, so why do you think it's dangerous? And we don't need to indicate to come back in either. Why do you think we shouldn't indicate when we're
That would have been
going?
useful.
So the reason we don't indicate is because.
And turning right.
And we're turning right, please, Tony. So, when are we going to indicate, Tony?
About now.
So, indicate, Tony. That's right. So, what's the dangers if? Why is it important we put that indicator on early enough?
Give people plenty of time to react.
Yeah, that's right. So, we were a bit late with that indicator. So, on the next one, what's the dangers if we don't indicate early enough?
I thought I did. People on the time drive.
Yeah. So on the next
End of the road
one,
left.
and the end of the road. So what I'll do is I'll give you some. I'll help you with the next one. I'll tell you when to do it. So help you judge it. So sorry, we're turning left, Tony. So indicate now, Tony, please.
Oh, about that distance.
Yeah, about that distance. And and why is it important we don't leave we indicate early enough, Tony?
Give people time to react.
Yeah. Is there any situations where you might want to delay that indicator less than that distance? Do you know of any situations you might want to delay that signal?
Oh, sometimes you get a road, two
Yeah.
roads together, don't you?
Yep, that's right. And why is it important we don't indicate before that first road, say?
Confuse people.
Yeah. And what might happen if it confuses people? Sorry, Tony. So we've got a crossing up ahead.
Yeah.
We've got these yellow flashes. So check your
Yeah.
interior mirror, please,
Yeah.
Tony. Check it, Tony.
All right.
Check it. And now scan. Sorry. So what we do is, Tony, we scan through the front window. It's a bit late there, not your fault. And so would you indicate to go around this parked vehicle, Tony?
Yeah.
So, we don't need to, Tony? Do you know why we don't need to indicate to go around this part? Why we
There
shouldn't?
might be anything in there.
That's right. So we've got a cross. Oh, sorry, yeah. So we've got a crossing coming up ahead, Tony. We can identify these yellow flashing beacons. We've got these black and white posts,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and we've got the white zigzag. So the first thing we're going to do on approach, Tony, is we're going to check that interior mirror.
Yeah.
Check it, Tony.
Oh, sorry.
Check it. And the reason we're going to, and then we're going to scan through the front windscreen for any pedestrians that might be approaching. That's excellent, Tony. And the reason we're checking that interior mirror on approach, Tony, is to see how close the vehicles are behind us. So if there is a vehicle close behind us, we can start. If what we can do is we can just give a slight press on the brake, wake people up behind us. So yeah, so pedestrians can basically cross anywhere. The reason we check that interior mirror, so if there's a vehicle close behind us, what we can do is we can give a slight press on the brake. That gives them a warning that we've got a crossing up ahead, so it wakes them up. And also, if we do have to stop, we can start braking earlier and more gradually, sort of to allow them more time to react.
Is that a crossing there, isn't it?
That isn't a crossing, Tony.
It's not.
It's not a pedestrian crossing,
I
Tony.
see people standing at them.
Yeah, what that is, it is a safe refuge. So it's so pedestrians can cross in two separate movements. And so if we see a pedestrian on there, we're going to treat them just like we do at a normal crossing.
Stop.
And we're going to
Stop.
what we do is we'll make eye contact with the pedestrian, and if they look as if they might cross, we'll cover the brake, see what they're going to do, cover the brake. But if they do cross, so we make eye contact, and if we think they might cross in front of us, we would have to give way to them once they've stepped onto the road. So the reason,
Just keep going straight.
and we keep going straight on, please, Tony. So we didn't need to indicate there, Tony. Do you know why we don't need to indicate?
No, always indicate, come off round the beds.
So we've got a crossing up at Tony. How do we identify this crossing? So what's the first thing we're going to do, Tony? What's the first thing?
Which question do you want me to answer first?
What's the first thing you're going to do? Sorry.
Oh, check the mirror.
Check it. And then what are you going to do?
Scan.
And why are we checking that into? So we don't need to indicate. The reason we don't need to indicate, Tony, is because by the time we've made that indicator, we're already at the roundabout. We're already onto it, and it could confuse people. They might think we're going to turn left. So we got a crossing. What kind of crossing have we got up ahead of us, Tony?
Oh, I see beacons.
Yes.
Uncontrolled.
And what's the first thing you're going to do?
Check the mirror.
So check that mirror, Tony. And then what are you going to do?
Scan.
That's good. And are you going to what are you going to do with your speed? So we don't need to speed up. Sorry, Tony. Which you won't do. So tell me, why were we checking that interior mirror, Tony?
See how close that car is behind.
And if there was a vertical close behind you, what would you do? What action would you take if they were
I
close?
could probably ease off a bit, couldn't I?
Yeah. So would you like me to hand that responsibility for checking the mirror, Tony?
Yeah.
So we don't need to indicate. So tell me why we don't need to indicate when we're at when it's a mini
I'm not
roundabout.
too sure. I thought you had to indicate.
If it's a mini roundabout like that one, we don't need to indicate if we're going straight on at it, because by the time we put that indicator on, we're already on the mini roundabout, and
Turning right all the way around your roundabout back down to the side.
we're turning right, because Tony, all the way around the roundabout and back down the other side.
So I don't need to indicate. Come on.
So we indicate now, Tony.
Oh, I do indicate.
So on a larger roundabout like this, we do indicate, because if we don't, that vehicle was put out in front. Now, so what kind? Is this a pedestrian crossing, Tony?
No.
That's right. So what are we not going to do as we go ahead of this roundabout?
Oh, indicate.
That's it. And why shouldn't we indicate?
Because I'm there before the indicator comes
That's
on.
it. So would you like me to hand that responsibility over to you?
Yeah, I think I've got
Indicating the
that.
roundabouts. So what have we got up ahead, Tony?
Oh, I see the Venetian beacons and the black and white lines.
Yes. And what's the first thing you're going to do?
Check the mirror.
And then what?
Scan.
Scan. Now the reason we're scanning, Tony, is we're looking out for any pedestrians that might be approaching or on the crossing itself. And so if we do see a pedestrian either on the crossing or approaching the crossing, if we see anybody on the crossing we would stop, but if we see anybody approaching the crossing, we're going to try and make eye contact with them, and we'll cover the brake, and if they're going to cross, then we'll have to stop and give way to them. So you tell me when you see a...
I can see one.
Yeah, and what type of crossing is that, Tony?
Uncontrolled.
Yeah, and how are you identifying that?
Black and white posts. I spotted them miles away.
Great stuff, lovely. So, good mirror check. No,
No need to indicate.
very good, sir. And what? So, where are you going to? What are you going to do?
Scan.
Scan.
I'm just going to nip in the cash machine here. Yeah?
You can't do that, Tony. So we have to carry on, unfortunately.
I always use that cash machine.
So, with the white zigzags, we're not allowed to park on them either before or after.
Yeah.
And the reason we mustn't park on them is because we're obscuring the view of other vehicles approaching the crossing, and also we're obscuring the view of the early pedestrians that might want to use the crossing, so they wouldn't be able to see it.
I thought if I was parked here decided it wouldn't matter.
So it applies on the other side, because you're then blocking the view of drivers coming towards us and pedestrians about to cross.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And also, we mustn't overtake on them, and that's because if you've got a vehicle parked there and you overtake, you wouldn't be able to see any pedestrians.
Oh.
There is an exception to that, Tony. If there is a bicycle that hasn't stopped, if there's some cyclists, they haven't stopped for anybody on the crossing, you are allowed to overtake them, providing they haven't stopped for anybody crossing. So, is this a crossing here, Tony?
It's a place where people can wait.
Yes. And if you saw somebody on there, standing on the island, would you stop for them?
No.
And what would you do if you saw somebody standing on
Just
that
check the
island?
mirror and keep an
Yeah.
eye on them.
Keep them.
Eye contact and
Excellent.
watch
That's
their
very
body
good.
language.
That's it. Very good, Tony. If they did step off the island, despite the fact that we've made eye contact with them,
I'd have to stop there, wouldn't I?
you'd have to stop.
Otherwise we'd have claret everywhere, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Excellent.
Is he?
Yeah. So you tell me.
turning right.
Oh, and we're going to turn right, please, Tony. So don't wave him across, Tony.
That's my
you
next
should-
door neighbour.
So we should never wave pedestrians across, even if they
Oh,
we
he's
know
not
them.
any pedestrian, he's my next door neighbour.
Even if it's your next door neighbour, whoever it is, we mustn't wave them across. Do you know why we shouldn't?
I think it's rude not to, if you know them.
Well, the reason we shouldn't wave them across, Tony, is because we don't know that it is safe for them. There might be some vehicle or a motorcyclist overtaking us or from another direction, and that we haven't seen. And we're going to turn left, please, Tony.
No, I never thought of that.
Yeah. So by waving them across, we'd be taking responsibility for their safety.
Yeah, I noticed his ham roll was getting cold. So I'd help him out.
Yeah, so we never wave them anybody across, Tony, even friends or neighbours. So it's very dangerous. And the same applies at a crossing as well. We don't wave them across because although we've stopped for them, there might be a vehicle coming the other way that doesn't stop. So we sort of let them decide. So basically, we just let the pedestrian decide what to do, take their own responsibility. So these control crossings, what we see, well, first thing we'll see a control crossing, we'll see a set of traffic lights, and then we'll see the posts with yellow boxes on, and again the white zigzag lines with the same rules apply about not parking and not stopping.
Controlled.
So that's called a control crossing. The ones that have a set of traffic lights, posts, yellow boxes, and on the yellow boxes there's a button for pedestrians to press to start the sequence of the lights to change. Now if we're approaching and we see that, the way we can tell if they press the button is either we'll see the wait sign or light up on the box facing us on the opposite side, or we might see a little red light come on near the button. So if we see either of those two things, we know the lights could very likely change. So what we can do is we can cover the brake.
Second on the right, the first beam just here.
And second on the right, and the first being just here, Tony. That's good timing of your indicator there, Tony. Do this first.
Yeah, you always indicate exactly the same time, don't you?
So, well,
There's
so
never any occasion you indicate early, is there?
so why did you time that signal as you did then? You timed that perfectly. Why did you signal at that
Guesswork.
point? Right. So the reason that we might have to delay our signal later because there were two roads close together. So if there's two roads close together and we're taking the second road, we want to indicate just after we pass that first road. And the reason for that is that if there's somebody makes it to emerge, or a pedestrian, somebody makes to emerge, they might pull out in front of us.
And turning right.
And we're turning right, please, Tony. That's good timing of your indicator. And why is it important we indicate earlier then, Tony?
Give it time to react.
That's good.
Is there any time you indicate really, really, really early?
Yes. So you would indicate earlier if you were travelling you were going faster. So, for instance, if you were doing, say, on a road going faster than 40 miles an hour and above, you would want to indicate earlier. Do you know why you would want to indicate earlier?
Not
So the
really.
faster you are. So the reason we indicate earlier on a faster road is because there's going to be, because we're going faster, there'll be less time between us and the junction we're taking. So we need that signal on earlier.
Oh.
So the faster you're going, the earlier you'd signal. So you're signalling on these junctions, Tony, when you're turning right and left. You've got the timing for that very well now. Would you like me to hand that responsibility over to you? For
Yeah, I
that?
do. I've got that now. Yeah.
Great, sir. You're doing very well there. So the other thing we're going to, if with the control crossing, Tony, there are two main types, and with one of them has, after the red light that we will stop, it has, the next one is a flashing amber
I was
light.
going to ask you about that. I was reading
Yes,
about that.
yes. What do you know? What does that? What
I
does
don't know. I
that-
fell asleep before I got the answer.
So what it is, Tony, if you see that flashing amber after the red, that means that if there's anybody still on the crossing, we must wait for them to cross. If, on the other hand, the crossing's clear, so you've stopped at a red and then it goes to flashing amber, and there's nobody on the crossing, you can proceed,
Okay.
carry on.
And turning.
And turning left, please, Tony. Would you like, and I should have said this earlier probably,
Okay.
would you like to have a go at these arm signals, Tony? Would you like to try them out? How do you feel with the weather?
I've already got very wet at
Yes.
the beginning. Would you mind if I leave it to the next lesson?
No problem, Tony.
I'll remind Fred.
Yes. Right, good stuff.
Actually, online. Yeah, I think you better remind Fred.
Yeah, I'll have a word with Fred tonight. I'll give him a
And
phone call
Tony,
to
right?
tell you when it's nice day. And Tony, right, please, Tony. And,
He gave a signal there, didn't he? I saw white lights come on at the back of the car.
Yes, he did. Yes. So, what was that signal for with the lights at the back of the car, the white
Yeah,
lights?
it's gone
too?
backwards.
Yeah. So that's another indicator, and that's another indication of what we're doing if we're going
Yeah.
backwards. And do you know why that's important that we show those
Turning
lights?
left.
And we're turning left, please, Tony.
Well, everybody know you've gone backwards, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
I suppose the horn's a signal as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's all sorts of other signals, Tony. So when might you use the occasion where you might have to use the horn? When might you use that?
My wife used it
Yeah.
when she pulls up outside her friend's house
Yes.
and her friend's not ready.
Yeah. Now,
And turning left.
and we're turning left, please, Tony. Yeah. So your
And her
wife.
friend shouts out the window,
Yes.
which you intend.
Yeah. So unfortunately, your wife shouldn't be doing that. So if you could tell her that basically we should only use the
You tell her that.
we should only use the horn to warn others of our, if we're in at night, if we're in danger from another vehicle, only to warn others of our presence if there is if there's any danger to, and left, please, Tony. So we shouldn't use the horn to tell people that, you know, we're there and ready for them. It's only if there's some immediate danger.
You can use it to tell people to get
Yes.
the hell out of the way, though, can't you?
And we mustn't use it even to tell them to get out of the way. The only reason we do it is to warn others of our presence. So, for instance, if there was a little child, and although you'd slowed down, you might give them a little toot, just to give them a warning that you're there, in case they do carry on and cross into the road.
And turning left.
And turn left, please, Tony.
Is there any way of letting them know after you tooted that you're not being aggressive?
What you can do is, if you've made that toot, you could give them a sort of, put your hand up, just let them know that the reason why you've stopped. Or maybe even just stop and tell them why you tooted the horn.
Well, stop and get out and tell them.
No, perhaps not. Well, I'll tell you what,
Just put your hand up to acknowledge them.
just put your hand up to acknowledge them. Just give them a sort of, yeah, like that.
And we're going to stop on the left.
I'm going to stop on the left, please, Tony.
Just before the telegraph pole.
Just before the telegraph pole.
Don't worry about the drive, it's not a drop curve.
Right, don't worry about it.
How do I do?
Yeah, you did very well. You got the hang of identifying them, which I hadn't got around to passing you over to, but you seem to have got that. You got a hand of checking the mirror on approach, and you were scanning, and you knew the reasons for scanning. You didn't stop. We sorted out with the park cars, and your timing of the signal, the reason for putting it on might delay it, and the reason you might want to put it on earlier. Not waving questions across.
Yep. Well done.
Thank you.
That was good.
Not too bad.
How'd that feel?
Yeah, felt not too bad. Yeah,
Hey?
yeah, felt quite good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
I've got stuff too.
thanks.
Any questions?
Can't think of any at this instant.
If I was going to moan
Yes.
a bit, if I was going to moan about one little thing, it was when I was going around the width restrictions. You saw my hand go to the indicator,
Yeah.
just tell me not to signal there.
Right. Yes.
It was the same at the first couple of roundabouts.
Yeah.
You saw my hand going there, but you still let me get the indicator on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Of
just,
course.
it's just being proactive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
That's true.
You know, very little to complain about there. Very good. Yeah, you always seem to forget to cover these zigzags, don't you? And the beckoning.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had a feeling. Actually, I saw that picture, and I
Well, if you think
suddenly
about
had
the
a feeling that
zigzags
you
as
were
part
going
of the identification.
to- Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be in your mind because you mentioned
Yes.
you mentioned the zigzags on the brief, and you mentioned that I wasn't beckon on the brief.
Yes.
So it's in
Yes.
your mind somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you bring it up, it's going to stop me doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, stop you pulling over
Yeah.
or saying to see you want to go to the bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I see. You should have gone in with the rules about the zigzags fairly quickly.
But apart from that, very, very good.
Yeah.
I'm just